Resilience is one of the most powerful qualities any human being can cultivate, because it turns what others intend as harm into fuel for growth and empowerment. When someone hurls an insult, their intention is often to diminish, to undermine, to make you second-guess yourself, or to force you into a defensive posture. But resilience steps in as the shield and the sword at the same time. It allows you to absorb the blow without crumbling, and then to rise even stronger, proving that their words cannot define you. When insults are thrown, resilience allows you to take that energy and redirect it into confidence, clarity, and composure. Instead of being silenced, you become louder in your presence. Instead of shrinking back, you step forward with conviction. And instead of letting someone else's view of you dictate your worth, you demonstrate that your worth is self-made, unshakable, and untouchable. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has faced ridicule, insults, and attempts to tear them down. Think of the leaders, the visionaries, the trailblazers. Each one was underestimated, mocked, or accused of not being intelligent enough, strong enough, or worthy enough to be in the positions they fought for. What separated them from those who quit was resilience. Resilience does not mean you don't feel the sting of an insult, nor does it mean you pretend words don't matter. It means you choose to rise above the insult and not allow it to weaken your spirit. Resilience takes the negativity thrown at you and reshapes it into a platform for empowerment. When someone tries to insult your intelligence, resilience whispers to you that your mind, your preparation, and your truth are enough. When someone doubts your ability, resilience reminds you that every doubt is simply a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. And when someone tries to publicly humiliate you, resilience gives you the strength to respond with such clarity that the entire room sees who truly holds the power. Resilience is not something we are simply born with, it is built through experiences, often through trials that test us deeply. Each insult, each dismissal, each time we are underestimated becomes a training ground. Instead of seeing these moments as defeats, we can see them as opportunities to build thicker skin, sharper minds, and stronger voices. When someone throws words meant to cut us down, we can learn to recognize that their attempt to insult often says more about their insecurities than our abilities. Resilience allows us to step outside the moment of pain and see the larger picture. We begin to understand that insults are fleeting, but the way we respond can leave a lasting impression. And that impression, if grounded in strength, can inspire countless others who are also fighting their own battles with being underestimated. It is in the moments of insult that resilience reveals its truest power. Many people react with anger, defensiveness, or silence. But the resilient person pauses, breathes, and chooses their response carefully. They understand that their composure is a greater weapon than rage, that their clarity is more powerful than shouting back, and that their calm is what turns the tables. Imagine a room filled with people waiting for you to crumble after being insulted. Imagine them expecting you to falter, to lose your cool, to stumble over your words. And then imagine the power of surprising everyone by rising above, by speaking with intelligence so undeniable, by standing with posture so unshaken, that the insult fades into irrelevance and all that remains is the brilliance of your response. That is the gift resilience offers. It not only protects your spirit, it also transforms the narrative. Throughout history, resilience has been the common thread that runs through the stories of those who overcame ridicule to achieve greatness. Inventors laughed at for their ideas, activists insulted for their courage, leaders mocked for their visions. All of them were told they were not smart enough, not capable enough, not worthy of respect. And yet, with resilience, they proved otherwise. Each insult became a stepping stone, each doubt became fuel for determination, each attempt to belittle them became an opportunity to show that dignity cannot be stolen. When you cultivate resilience, you carry within you a shield that makes you immune to the venom of others. It does not mean you do not feel the sting, but it means the sting cannot poison you. Resilience empowers you to transform those very attacks into sparks that light the fire of your next victory. The beauty of resilience is that it not only strengthens you, but it also sets an example for everyone watching. When others see you respond to insult with grace, strength, and clarity, they are reminded that they too can rise above their own challenges. Resilience is contagious, it spreads empowerment. In a world where so many people are struggling with doubt, insecurity, and the pain of being underestimated, your resilient response can inspire them to find their own voice. You may not realize it in the moment, but by refusing to be broken, you are giving permission to others to do the same. Every time you show that an insult cannot derail you, you are proving that human dignity, when fortified with resilience, is indestructible. Resilience also transforms the way we see ourselves. When insults come and we choose to rise instead of fall, we begin to internalize the truth that no one else holds the power to define our worth. That realization changes everything. We stop seeking validation from those who insult us. We stop craving approval from people who do not see our value. Instead, we anchor ourselves in the knowledge that resilience has made us stronger than their words, tougher than their attempts, and brighter than their doubts. It allows us to see insults not as reflections of who we are, but as opportunities to prove to ourselves just how unshakable we have become. And once you taste the power of resilience, you will never again allow anyone to reduce your value with a careless insult. Resilience is the reason why some people can walk away from moments of deep humiliation with their heads held high, while others crumble. It is the inner strength that whispers, "You are more than their words, more than their judgment, more than their insult." And the more you practice resilience, the more natural it becomes to rise in moments of adversity. It becomes less about the insult and more about the opportunity to demonstrate your strength. What once might have left you shaken now leaves you standing taller. What once would have silenced you now empowers your voice. What once might have broken your spirit now builds your character. Resilience is not just about surviving insults. It is about transforming them into platforms for empowerment. True intelligence has never been about how loudly you speak, how forcefully you argue, or how quick you are to lash back at criticism. It is revealed in the quiet power of composure, in the ability to remain calm under fire, in the clarity with which you respond when others try to provoke you. Intelligence is not measured by the number of degrees you hold, the books you have read, or the facts you can recite at lightning speed. Those are valuable, but true intelligence shows itself most clearly when your character and your composure shine in situations designed to test your strength. When someone hurls insults or attempts to belittle you, they are not merely attacking your ideas, they are attempting to shake your presence, to pull you into chaos, to make you lose the calm that is your greatest weapon. But it is in these moments that composure becomes proof of intelligence. To stay steady, to remain thoughtful, to resist the temptation of reacting in anger, that is where the brilliance lies. There is a unique power in choosing composure when others expect you to break. People often assume that the louder voice wins the argument, that raising your tone or showing outrage is what proves conviction. But composure exposes the hollowness of that belief. When you remain calm in the face of hostility, you show that you are in control of yourself and the situation. You send the message that their words, no matter how sharp, cannot penetrate your peace. And in that calm, your intelligence has the space to shine. You are able to articulate your thoughts with precision, to select your words not out of anger but out of intention, to respond in a way that silences the noise without adding more to it. Composure is intelligence in action, because it demonstrates mastery over the self, and mastery over the self is always the foundation of mastery over circumstances. Think about the countless times in history when leaders, thinkers, or advocates faced ridicule, aggression, or condescension. The ones remembered as intelligent were not those who shouted the loudest or threw insults back. They were the ones who remained unbothered, who spoke clearly even when provoked, who responded with logic instead of emotion. Their composure made their intelligence undeniable. It is easy to react impulsively when someone tries to humiliate you, but it takes a deep kind of wisdom to recognize that restraint can be the most powerful response. When you stand calm and collected, it unnerves those who attack you, because they realize they cannot reach you. They may call you names, question your knowledge, or laugh at you, but your composure reveals a truth they cannot touch. Your intelligence is not dependent on their validation. Intelligence is not just about knowledge, it is about the wisdom of when and how to use that knowledge. Composure allows you to access your intelligence in the moments you need it most. Anger clouds thinking, but calm clears it. When you are composed, your mind can find the right arguments, the precise examples, the perfect framing of your ideas. You can think several steps ahead instead of being dragged into the emotional battlefield someone else set for you. This is why true intelligence cannot be separated from composure. Knowledge without composure becomes wasted in the heat of reaction. But knowledge with composure becomes a force that is impossible to ignore. We live in a world where people often mistake volume for intelligence. The one who shouts, interrupts, or dominates the space is sometimes assumed to be the one in control. But real control belongs to the one who does not need to raise their voice to command attention. Composure creates a kind of quiet authority that no insult can shake. When someone tries to provoke you and you respond not with anger but with calm reasoning, you flip the dynamic entirely. Suddenly, the one attempting to appear strong is exposed as insecure, while you, through composure, reveal the depth of your intelligence. People may forget the exact words spoken in heated moments, but they always remember who held their ground with dignity. Composure also protects your credibility. In situations where others expect you to react emotionally, losing your composure gives them the opportunity to dismiss your intelligence. They can point to your anger as a weakness, use your reaction as evidence against you, or twist your words into something you never meant. But when you remain composed, you deny them that power. You stand unshaken, and in doing so, you protect not only your reputation but also your message. Your intelligence remains intact because your composure ensured that your ideas, not your emotions, carried the moment. The strongest minds are not those that never feel insulted, but those that feel it and still choose composure. This choice is not easy, it requires discipline, patience, and a belief in your own worth. Without that inner strength, insults can easily push you into reaction. But when you know who you are, when you trust the intelligence you carry, composure comes more naturally. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself through volume or anger. You let your calm confidence speak for you, and in that calmness, your intelligence becomes undeniable. Consider the way composure shifts the atmosphere of a room. When an insult is thrown, everyone holds their breath, waiting to see how you will respond. If you respond with equal hostility, the room descends into noise, and your intelligence is lost in the chaos. But if you respond with composure, the silence stretches, the tension changes, and suddenly all eyes are on you. Not because you shouted, but because your calm presence commanded respect. That moment of composure speaks louder than any insult could. It shows everyone watching that intelligence is not about out-yelling your opponent but about outthinking them. True intelligence also involves emotional intelligence, the ability to manage not just your thoughts but your feelings. Composure reflects mastery of this skill. It shows that you can regulate your emotions in a way that serves your greater purpose instead of undermining it. Emotional intelligence is what allows you to hear an insult and recognize that it is a test, not a truth. It allows you to separate your worth from someone else's words, to maintain perspective when others try to strip it away. This balance of reason and emotion is what makes intelligence whole, and composure is the bridge that connects the two. There is a misconception that staying composed means being passive, that it means letting people insult you without consequence. But composure is not weakness, it is strategic strength. It does not mean you do not respond, but that you respond on your terms, in your timing, with your clarity. It means you do not let someone else's insult dictate the energy of the moment. You take control of the moment by refusing to play into their plan. That is intelligence at its finest, not being reactive, but being intentional. Not allowing yourself to be pulled into a fight, but choosing to stand in the power of calm clarity. When insults are thrown, everyone expects conflict. Composure defies those expectations and creates a shift. The room feels the difference. The energy changes. And in that moment, your intelligence shines not just in your words, but in your very demeanor. You remind everyone watching that intelligence is not loud, it is steady. It is not combative, it is unshakable. And it is never about proving your worth to those who try to diminish you, but about proving to yourself that their attempt at provocation will not move you. Knowing your worth is the foundation upon which all strength, confidence, and resilience are built. When you truly understand who you are and the value you carry, you become untouchable to the forces that try to diminish you. The world is full of voices that will attempt to tell you that you are not enough, that you are less than, that your intelligence, your capability, or your presence does not measure up. These voices may come in the form of direct insults, subtle dismissals, or the quiet doubts of those who simply cannot imagine your greatness. But when you know your worth, those voices lose their power. They may speak, but they do not penetrate. They may attempt to wound, but they cannot scar. Knowing your worth means that you have built within yourself a foundation so strong that no insult, no criticism, no dismissal can shake it. It is a dangerous thing for anyone to underestimate a person who knows their worth. For someone who is uncertain of themselves, an insult can break them down, make them question their identity, and cause them to retreat into silence. But for someone anchored in self-worth, insults are nothing more than noise in the background. They cannot touch the truth of what you know about yourself. When you walk into a room knowing exactly who you are, what you stand for, and the value you bring, you carry a kind of unshakable presence. Even when someone attempts to humiliate you, you do not need to fight for dignity because your dignity has already been secured within. Your worth is not handed to you by others, and because it was never given, it can never be taken away. Knowing your worth also means understanding that you are not required to prove yourself to those who do not recognize your value. Often, insults are designed to drag you into the exhausting game of defending your intelligence or your ability. But true confidence rooted in worth sees no need for such games. You do not beg for recognition, you simply demonstrate through your presence and your actions that you are enough. You allow your results, your resilience, and your character to speak louder than any insult. And when others witness that kind of certainty, they realize that their attempts to tear you down are futile. Knowing your worth disarms their attacks because it reveals that their opinions do not define you. The world will always have critics. There will always be those who cannot see beyond their own biases, their own insecurities, or their own limitations. Some people insult others not because of who those others are, but because of what they themselves lack. They project their inadequacies onto those they envy. They lash out not because you are unworthy, but because your strength threatens them. When you know your worth, you see through this. Instead of taking their words personally, you recognize them as a reflection of the speaker, not of you. You rise above, not because you are unaffected, but because you choose to place your energy where it truly belongs, on your growth, your goals, and your truth. Knowing your worth creates an inner shield, but it also creates an outer light. People who are confident in their worth radiate something that cannot be faked. They carry themselves differently. They speak with conviction not because they are trying to convince others, but because they are already convinced themselves. This kind of confidence is magnetic. It draws respect, admiration, and attention. It shifts the balance of power in any room. Even if someone attempts to insult you, those watching will quickly see who holds true strength. Insults fall flat against someone who refuses to be shaken, and in that refusal, the power dynamic turns. The one who tried to belittle you looks smaller, while you stand taller simply because you know your worth. When you know your worth, you are able to set boundaries without guilt. Insults are often an attempt to cross those boundaries, to push you into a corner where you feel small. But self-worth reminds you that you have the right to walk away, the right to demand respect, the right to stand in spaces where you are valued. You do not cling to places, people, or situations that dishonor your worth because you know you are deserving of more. This refusal to accept less is one of the strongest demonstrations of intelligence and strength. The person who knows their worth does not chase validation from those who insult them, they reserve their energy for people and spaces that honor who they are. One of the most liberating truths about knowing your worth is that it frees you from the endless cycle of comparison. Insults often work by suggesting that you do not measure up to some imagined standard, that you are less intelligent, less capable, or less deserving than someone else. But when you are grounded in worth, you no longer measure yourself against others. You understand that your path is your own, your gifts are unique, and your value is not diminished by someone else's success. This freedom makes insults lose their sting, because you are no longer playing the game of proving yourself against external standards. You know who you are, and that knowledge is enough. Knowing your worth also prepares you to respond to insults not with anger, but with clarity. When you are secure, you do not feel the need to retaliate with equal hostility. Instead, you can respond with intelligence, with composure, with a dignity that commands respect. Your words carry more weight because they are not reactive, they are intentional, grounded in the quiet power of someone who does not doubt themselves. This is why responses from people who know their worth often leave entire rooms speechless. It is not just the words they say, but the authority with which they say them, the unshakable confidence that makes it impossible to dismiss them. There is also a deep sense of peace that comes with knowing your worth. Insults may sting for a moment, but they do not linger. They cannot take root, because your worth does not leave room for them to grow. Instead of replaying the words in your mind, questioning yourself, or carrying the weight of someone else's judgment, you let them go. Your energy is no longer wasted on fighting battles that do not matter. You remain focused on your purpose, your growth, and your future. That peace is one of the greatest gifts of knowing your worth. It frees you from the chains of other people's opinions and allows you to walk in your own power. The journey to knowing your worth is not always easy. It often requires walking through trials, facing rejection, and enduring moments where others try to convince you that you were not enough. But each insult survived, each dismissal overcome, each attempt to undermine you resisted. These moments build your self-worth. They remind you that your strength did not come from being protected, but from being tested. And in those tests, you discovered that your worth is not fragile, but unbreakable. Every attempt to reduce you only made you more certain of your value. Every insult thrown at you became another reason to stand taller. When you know your worth, you stop living to please others and start living to fulfill your purpose. Insults no longer dictate your choices, because you are no longer trying to fit into the boxes others designed for you. You know your worth, so you choose boldly. You pursue goals others think are too ambitious. You take risks others shy away from. You speak truths others are afraid to say. And when someone tries to insult you along the way, you do not crumble, because your worth has already secured you.